Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Jerry Cooey.
I'm Deborah Nelson. Thanks for joining us.
And I'm going to start out the show with something that is very near and dear to my heart. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our prosperity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. This is our Constitution, ladies and gentlemen. I also am going to read Amendment 1. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. I read this to you today, ladies and gentlemen, because this is the year for me. This book, and this is actually Deborah's copy, this copy of this nice red book.
Yes, while we're on that subject, you just picked that up off the table?
I did.
I just want you to know where I got that copy from.
I see you got it from the American Civil Liberties
Yes,
Union.
I did.
Well,
they sent it to me in the mail.
that's fine. Anybody can run a printing press. This is an important book, folks. And for all the folks who are sitting in office today and for all the folks who are running for office today, I have decided, and I think I will have some folks that will come along with me. My focus, starting today and further, is going to be to make sure that the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the state of Florida is enforced fully, and that those who wind up in office when the election's over with clearly understand it, because I'm going to stop by and meet with every one of them. But folks, I am sick and tired of our constitutional rights being run over.
And I have slightly more humble hopes. I would just like them to start following local laws. I'd be pleased if that happened.
Well, look, somebody's got to call it. All right, Deborah knows, and anybody who's followed me for a little while, I've actually read the First Amendment of the Constitution 6 times at a Santa Rosa County Commission meeting. I have read it at other meetings across the state of Florida, and what we have, it kind of goes back to we have a failure to communicate.
Yes.
Okay. Let me say this again, folks, and look, I'm reaching out asking you folks to assist in this also. Every single elected official in the state of Florida raises their right hand, puts their hand upon a Bible, and they swear to defend the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the state of Florida. I am going to hold them to it. I need you to hold them to it also.
I hope you have a lot of time on your hands.
It's certainly it's a large scope there.
Yes.
I honestly and certainly it was not with the current commissioners that we have, because Commissioner Lynchard, Commissioner Williamson, and Commissioner Melvin certainly understand the Constitution and the ramifications thereof. But in a previous group of commissioners, I was shocked that the first time I pulled it out and read it to them, you would have thought I had just beamed down from an alien spaceship. You know, that they couldn't understand. I had John Broxson telling me to sit down and be quiet, and former Commissioner Tom Stewart yelling at a citizen to how dare you come in and ask a question. You know, and when I read it to them, you know, they just they got all offensive about it. Okay? I'm just saying. I'm calling it into question this year. I'm done with it. I've had enough. I've had enough of the gray area and the swimming around in the gray area and telling folks, you know, Father Monk, sit down and be quiet. No, I have a constitutional right. All right? And there are also, every elected official in the state of Florida has to follow the laws of the state of Florida. I won't be quite as humble as Deborah. There are laws. For example, here's one law that I think needs to be followed. State statutes say that if you're in an elected position or an appointed position, if you stand in the shoes of government and you have intimate knowledge that the average citizen does not have, and you use that knowledge to enrich yourself, to enrich your family members, or to enrich your company, you have committed a felony. Now, Santa Rosa Week TV has probably shown you 4 or 5 times that has occurred.
Yeah.
Hadn't seen anybody in jail yet.
Speaking of gray areas.
You know, if we're not going to follow laws, and I'll send my message out to State Attorney Bill Edens again. You put your hand on the Bible too. You swore you were going to defend the Florida statutes. I'm just saying.
It looks like he still doesn't have any competition.
I've seen multiple people that have blatantly violated and thumbed their nose at us in the process, and nothing happened to them.
Yeah.
So what I have to say about it is, folks, help me. Help me. When you see a blatant violation of the ultimate, most important document that we have to protect us as citizens, when you see people stepping outside of that, speak up. If you don't feel comfortable in speaking up, contact this show. You got the email address. Contact this show. Tell me the circumstance, and you can bet your bottom dollar I'll go make it, bring it to their attention. You know, another thing too, it tickles me. It's just so human. We are so far gone, even at the federal level, of following the Constitution. Folks, there's a big conversation about post offices going on right now. You know, you know, we're wringing our hands about the costs and all this kind of stuff. Read your Constitution carefully, folks. You will find out that your U.S. House representative member has a responsibility via the Constitution of the United States of America to furnish postal roads and to furnish post offices. And the mere fact that our representatives and our citizens are sitting in Washington, D.C., preparing to close post offices and all this kind of stuff. Now, I'm not against finding a cheaper, better way and a more efficient way. Don't misinterpret what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is, under our current system, the Constitution says that our U.S. House member is responsible for post offices. They're violating the Constitution. And I would venture to say that if I stood up in front of that gaggle of fools in Washington, D.C. and said, "Are you aware you're violating the Constitution?" they would say I was crazy. But folks, it's right here in the Constitution. It's an important document. I have gotten to the point of I'm going to make it my goal that every conversation that I have, that it begins with, whatever Mr. or Mrs. elected official wants to do, is it a violation of the Constitution? Actually, I probably need to start the conversation.
A lot of stuff they want to do is not a violation of the U.S. Constitution, and it's still a problem. I mean, right. Prime case of that would be the Kelo case a couple years ago,
right,
where New London, Connecticut the Supreme Court decided they were constitutionally had the right to take somebody's house away from them and give it to another private entity.
But it still wasn't right.
Right, but it was constitutionally allowable.
Well, I just continue to, and look, folks, if you're a member of an organization, homeowners, as these politicians, those folks running for office, as they come around, you get an opportunity to get in front of some of them. I want you to ask them, have you read the Constitution, and are you going to follow what you're going to swear to once you get elected?
Yeah, and there's a lot of nuts and bolts of local and state governance that's not going to be covered by the Constitution.
Absolutely.
It doesn't pertain.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what we keep an eye on.
Right. Well, folks, today we're going to talk about I'm part of this show, so I'm going to say something right in the beginning. A wise man builds his house upon the rocks. A foolish man builds his house upon the sand.
Excuse me. I believe that's a foolish man builds his condominium upon the sand.
So let's we're going to get a little bit later here. We're going to get to why we're going to talk about this, but I want to share with the audience some things that I know, some things that I have learned. I had an opportunity to be at a forum where one of the I guess you would consider this person a subject matter expert on shoreline, sand movement, that kind of stuff. And here's what I learned from it. The question of renourishment came up.
Yes, beach renourishment.
Beach renourishment. And the professor said,
let's just be very clear. That means you go out into the middle of the ocean and you find a vein of white sand,
right,
and you pump it up out of the ocean floor,
right,
and you buy it from somebody normally.
Or in Santa Rosa County politics, we had a sitting county commissioner.
Sometimes it's close to the source.
Who we bought white sand directly from him to put on the beach that he was inhabiting.
Sometimes the source is more convenient than others.
Yeah, okay. But with that said, the question was asked, well, what are you in favor or against beach renourishment? And he said, well, I'm not going to answer that in the beginning. I want to ask you a question. In the times that you've gone to the beach, you think back, and he said, I want you to look in your mind, look to the east, and then look to the west. What did you see? Well, everybody said, well, it's a straight shoreline. It pretty much, it may have a little bit of curve to it, but it's kind of a straight line. He said, well, if you pump sand into an area and you stick a knoll out into the Gulf of Mexico, in a short period of time, Mother Nature, due to the action of the seas, will push that sand east and west and will very quickly gobble it back up, because nature is designed to keep it at a straight line.
Yeah.
Another thing that he said very interesting, and just happened to be having a conversation with somebody just yesterday about it. At one time, folks, we had some sand dunes along the south end, along the Gulf of Mexico there. Some of them were as high as 35 feet high. And this professor was asked that also. And, how come the dunes never built back up to 35 feet? We've done everything we can to get them to build back up. And he said, well, you're asking the wrong question. He said, the actual answer to your question is that the 35-foot high sand dunes was an anomaly. It was not the natural course of events. Different things brought it to that, but a lack of hurricanes and a lack of winter storms was what got them to 35 feet. Once they got knocked down again, his belief that 12 to maybe 16 feet was potentially as high as they would ever get ever again under natural occurrence. Another thing that I gleaned from his conversation is everybody says the hurricanes tear the beach up. And he looked at us and he said, hurricanes have a one-day impact, maybe a 3-day impact to a beach. The mass destruction of any beach along the Gulf of Mexico is due to winter storms where you have a north to south flow of air. You typically have lower tides during that time, and wind pushes the sand back into the water, and with a lower tide it pulls the sand away from the beach. His learned ability and his study had indicated that 10 winter storms in a year, which is not uncommon if they come what we would typically call like an Arctic front. It comes straight out of Canada, straight down. That 10 of those storms in a year was far more destructive than one hurricane, because it pushes the sand away from the beach. And so that's kind of the nuts and bolts to sand movement. Now, we have watched, Deborah and I, this is a kind of a pastime, we watch this kind of stuff. But we saw Pensacola Beach, they pumped in all kind of sand over there, and actually another expert that actually stood in the Santa Rosa County Commission chamber, when asked, he said that 50% of the renourished sand would be gone in 365 days. And
the last time they renourished was it 04?
Let's see, what do we see here? 06.
06.
06. You know, here's my issue with it. This is just me. Good. You know, I don't live on the coast. When I wake up in the morning, I see the neighbor across the street. I don't look up to see seagulls and all that. And typically, now I want to say that part of what the commissioners are trying to do, and we're going to get to that, is focus more on the public beach area, which
yes.
I feel a little bit different about that than everything. But typically, across the board, across the state of Florida, where we have seen renourishment projects, it's been because of folks that have a beach house on the beach. It gets eroded, and they start howling about it. Well, we got to do something about it. Now, in a lot of cases, they have paid money for that renourishment, but I want to point out something to you folks. The federal government typically pays the largest portion of it. The state of Florida comes in second with the most amount. Then Santa Rosa County, and then the homeowners. All right. So although, yes, they have an additional tax bill to pay for renourishment for their specific benefit, the dollars are very low. If I recall, the renourishment at Pensacola Beach was grand total was upwards of about $16–18 million, and the Navarre renourishment was pretty expensive also. I think it was around 8 or so.
Although they're not going to have the federal or the state money this time around.
Right.
There's no way they're going to have that.
Right. And
so now they're looking for another source of money.
You know, the first thing you have to say is what's fair. Now here's my 2 cents worth. If we renourish a beach with the understanding that it's something we're going to have to do on a regular basis, but if we renourish a beach and it is 100% on the public beach, I'm kind of okay with that.
Yes, I agree.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
Because all of us get to use that.
Yes.
But
by public, you're talking about the strip that runs in front of the condos and the.
As long as it's public beach.
Yes.
Around the Navarre Pier and on down to the mile that is now a county park.
Yeah.
The stuff that's in front of that condominium, and this is why I have ill will. This is where my feelings change. If I take my sailboat and I go over there and I offload it off the trailer, my little Hobie cat, and I pull it onto the sand between the condominium and the water, even though it's a public beach, those folks are going to call and complain, and I'm going to have to move my boat. Although I
have never seen that happen.
Although it's quote unquote public beach,
yeah,
they will get their way eventually.
But I mean, why would you? Well, I mean, I guess you could put in there. I mean, there's a lot of
because I would like to sail on the Gulf side rather than the Sound side.
No, but I mean, you wouldn't necessarily have to go between the condominiums are put in there. I mean, you could put in by the pier.
I want to though.
Oh, I understand.
Because that's my beach and I own it.
I'm just telling you that I have never seen that happen.
Right. Well, here's the thing. If the folks that want to act that way, for example, folks in Destin, Florida, you have to pay $5 to get to the beach.
Yeah, that's
no public access.
Yeah, that's frightening.
But for the private owners of real estate along the beach,
yeah,
if you want sand renourished there,
yeah,
then everybody needs to have access.
The homes, I agree with you. I absolutely. I've never seen it. I mean, what's going to happen if you park there? You're going to get ticketed. If you park on, in
their parking lot.
In the well, and definitely you're going to get ticketed for that, and probably towed. But if you park, near there, it's going to be an issue. But I've never seen anybody complain about your, 3 inches on my property.
I think I'll try that.
I think you should. I think you should.
Look, and now we'll talk a little bit about and Commissioner Melvin, because he represents the Navarre area, and Commissioner Williamson. Commissioner Williamson actually used the word public beach.
Yes.
And I actually spoke with Commissioner Melvin
and
after the meeting. And
there's several walkover areas that are in between the condos that are there's public walkovers.
Right.
And it's public zones between
Right.
This community has worked very hard, and you have to monitor these county commissioners every minute of the day to make sure that the public areas stay public. That's why
Right.
they're public, is because people have paid attention. Because believe me, there's plenty of people that would love to close all of it out, just like it is, in Destin.
Absolutely.
They would love that. We need to keep an eye on that. But there's a lot of public areas on Navarre thus far.
I just think, we need to be very careful. Look, you heard the numbers that I kicked around there. 7-8 million at Navarre, and 12 to 16 million on Pensacola Beach. There's a lot of issues that come with this, and like I said, I will support taking care of the public beach, where there's a public parking lot where I can park my vehicle and I go, and that's my public beach.
Right.
And there's not somebody in my way or telling me how I have to act or do or whatever down here. That it is 100% open to the beach, to the public. I'm not necessarily opposed to that. I just want to make sure that while we're having this conversation, that it is the public beach.
I agree 1,000%. My perspective is, if we end up paying for the waterfront to be renourished, it will absolutely remain a public beach forever, because people aren't going to pay that and then turn around and have them say, well, the areas in front of the condos we're going to rope off or whatever, like they do in some areas. That wouldn't, it's not going to fly here, but there are some areas of the world where you can't venture anywhere near in front of a condo.
Look, folks, let me remind you, I'll tell this story again. In 1981, go down 1981, 1982, go to Destin, Florida to go diving, scuba diving. That was some of the clarity of the water, just phenomenal. A lot of people went diving there. There was one strip shopping center, there was 2 gas stations and a little convenience store.
Yeah.
Today, you will have to move 3 times so that the sun will keep hitting you if you happen to be on the beach side.
Oh, it's terrible, yeah.
Because of the buildings that are built down there. They've lost public access and all that, and I want to second what Deborah said here. Is the public access is vital, and folks, look, don't go to sleep at the wheel. We took back the 1 mile from Navarre Pier to the east,
so far,
under county control. You cannot go to sleep at the wheel, because there is tremendous pressure. Behind the scenes today, there is tremendous pressure to turn that into a private growth area.
Many greedy people would like to be able to buy that parkland at, we saw the inflated price on the Pullen property. This would be the opposite. They get it at inflatedly low prices,
right?
And then they go in and they ruin it. It'd be ruined in a year.
It just it's a novel approach that Commissioner Melvin and that they're starting to kick around here, and I my 2 cents worth is, I think they'll get a little buy-in. One of the things that Commissioner Melvin said was, well, we have a road down there, and taxes from the whole county takes care of that road. Well, why wouldn't taxes take care of the public beach no different than a public road, whether it be in the north end of the county or the south?
Which I agree with, because that beach generates a lot of revenue.
It does, and actually there was one person in the audience that asked that question, said, hey, wait a second. We keep hearing that there's a lot of money generated from this. If there's a lot of money generated from it, then take your $1 or $2 million and go put the sand back. Why are you even talking to us about it if it generates so much money? And
well, because they want to have a pot they can access without it being an issue. The danger is they want to. It was suggested to bring a TIF district down there, which then takes. This year we collected X amount.
Right.
In this district, they cordoned the district off. So after that year, every amount above the set amount they made that first year goes into the beach only, and it doesn't get spread around.
Everyone that watches this show should know that and I believe Deborah is too, will be adamantly opposed to a TIF district.
That's the worst thing.
If we're going to do anything, and let's back the bus up a little.
Ghettoization.
Let's back the bus up a little bit. We had a toll bridge, and it was 25 cents. And Gordon Gooden wanted to be the hero of the people down there, so he worked a deal. And what a deal he made, as I say with sarcasm dripping off my face. The state of Florida gave us a bridge plus $4 million.
Do you have any conception of what getting to that island would be like if there was a toll on that bridge right now? And
it'll need 4 lanes, and there's room enough to put 4 lanes there.
No.
There is.
It needs to be free.
That
causeway needs to be free.
Just the cost of
a lot of people work there. First of all,
just the cost of rebuilding that bridge. Money needs to be set aside right now for that.
Well, and that may well be, but it doesn't need to be a toll bridge. That's gonna.
Well, I guess we found something that we're at opposite ends.
I can't even imagine the nightmare in the middle of the summer. It's already bad, but it will be a nightmare.
It needs to be 4 toll.
And it's not fair to the people who work and live there.
4 toll booths coming in and 2 lanes getting off.
I understand.
And you know, it's just ridiculous.
Let them put concessions down there and then collect from the concession. We didn't want to put concessions.
Well, I typically stand on the side of user fees, and I don't mind slinging 4 quarters into the basket on the way over there, if all that money stays in the pot for bridge replacement and renourishment and things that benefit all of us.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's just my guess is.
It'll be a nightmare in the summertime.
Well, my guess is it'll be a nightmare when the barge takes that bridge out and you have $0 to rebuild it.
I hear you.
How would you like to experience that?
And I wouldn't want to live there and have to pay a toll every day.
You being a Democrat, we'll find some form of welfare for you, so you'll be able to go for a dime instead of $1.
Just make sure I have my hand out.
I got you. Okay, well, this is Jerry Cooey.
I'm Deborah Nelson. Thanks for watching. Good night.